more aggressive with Thony in order to secure her as an informant, Arman gives Thony reasons to actually become a snitch. In the first topic, we're just going to cover what's going on with Fiona and Chris since they pretty much operate on a separate storyline. So, as we were told in previous episodes, Chris is not an American citizen, so naturally the first thing that comes to mind is possibly making him a DACA recipient. Unfortunately, to become a DACA recipient, it's apparently very expensive since you need a lawyer to do all the paperwork and everything. And as shown, while Fiona has a house, which is a pretty decent size, unfortunately, paying for a lawyer on top of everything else, it's just not feasible. But the problems don't end there. When it comes to Chris's lineage, it gets kind of complicated. Originally, Chris was under the impression that his father was an American citizen named Jacob, who had this relationship with his mother, and that's not the case. Jacob is somebody who she was with seemingly for some time, or maybe it was just a friend, but while they did have relations, it seems that Chris is not Jacob's father, and apparently both Jacob and Chris have been lied to since Jacob found out that Chris isn't his kid, and on top of that, Chris was under the impression that his dad died, but no, he didn't. Jacob just pretty much abandoned him after that huge lie. So now Chris is kind of wondering who's his dad then, and the answer is it was some guy that Fiona had a one-night stand with. Thus, pretty much, while it's nice for him that she came out with the truth, Chris is just kind of struggling with what he knows to be true. For our second topic, we're going to start moving into Thony's storyline, which deals with Garrett starting to press her, and also her starting to remind herself that Arman, as nice as he can be towards her, is still very much a gangster. So, to begin, Thony, with wanting to thank Arman for helping with Luca when he had that adenovirus, she decides she wants to try to, up her hours in order to pay him off for all that. But no sooner does she does that, she finds out that, one, Luca, because of the liver damage he experienced, he's not going to be able to do that stem cell trial anymore. So that's unfortunate. And then on top of that, she sees Arman in action threatening one of the council members who's trying to extort him and Hayek. And with that, she has to revive the man because Arman nearly drowned him. So with that in mind, when Garrett approaches her, as much as she does her usual Thony thing where she kind of like bulks up and acts like she has power in the situation, at the same time you can kind of see the wheels turning that if she needs an out, this might be it. But when it comes to Garrett, I don't think he's gonna wait too much. He's not gonna wait too long on her, mainly because when you see him talk to ASAC Russo, who's his boss, you can tell this man has been on thin ice. You can tell that because of his privilege. That is the only reason why, after sleeping with one of his informants, he didn't get cut. Never mind all the other antics he had in his previous cases. So when it comes to this case against Hayek, he needs a win. He needs to push Thony to the point of snitching on Arman, getting into Hayek's organization and getting to take him down. Especially since with him losing his wife because of that informant incident and now losing access to his son because of his wife, being quite upset, he needs something in his life to keep going because sneaking around to see his son during a school day is not doing it. And while Thony tries to help the best she can while she's kind of figuring things out, her giving him a gift for Sammy, Garrett's son's birthday, it's a nice gesture, but it's not what he necessarily needs. He needs to be able to take down Arman at the very least, but Hayek hopefully in the long run. For the third topic, let's go into what exactly Garrett was trying to get out of Thony. So, and I know I need to stop saying so for a transition word. It is Hayek's eldest child's wedding, Isabel, and with that, Arman is given a strange amount of tasks over Tariq, who is Hayek's blood son. This, as you can imagine, with Tariq, is bothersome because Arman is the son of the help, yet he's collecting money for his older sister's birthday. I mean, not birthday, for his older sister's wedding. And he's getting tasked with arranging so that various people of power show up to the wedding too. Meanwhile, what's Tariq's assignment? Well, he finds out during the wedding that he's going to get sent to Armenia to fight in the war. That's his assignment. While Arman gets to stay here in luxury, get to move up further into whatever kind of business that Hayek is in, be it guns, drugs, who knows, because we don't really get into the specifics yet. And this is bothersome. So when Thony wiggles her way into the wedding, thanks to manipulating Nadia to make it seem like Nadia doesn't have as much control over her life as she thinks, Thony becomes an easy target. With her trying to fish out who's paying how much to be at Isabel's wedding or because Hayek pressured him into it, Tariq catches her and pretty much he is ready to use her as a means to kind of get one small dig at Arman, if anything. However, Thony was able to get pictures of the documents she needed and she was able to be scot-free. Which, unfortunately, when it comes to Thony, while she's able to get out of that situation, at the same time, things between her and Arman are starting to disintegrate. And with her bringing up his parents and how much shame that they would have in him because of what he does, you can see that she's really starting to do more than just give little digs or maybe comments, but she's doing full-on criticisms when she has no real right to. And while you could argue that because she sees Isabel kissing Armand, she does have some kind of leverage, the question becomes, is she really gonna try to use that against Armand, knowing that if he will take out a grown man like he does, he deals arms to various people without any real consideration of the repercussions. Who is she? She's undocumented. She's also somebody that many times Hayek wanted to kill anyway, so what's really stopping her from disappearing? Yes, she has a 5-year-old son, but as shown, Hayek didn't care about that before. And even to some point now, Arman is kind of in that place where I think the best way to put it is if we bring in Nadia and talk about their business. Right now, Arman is seeing himself as possibly next in line, and with everything happening with Tariq, there's less and less of a chance that it's just in his head. And Nadia recognizes this. So when you take that into consideration, Nadia, who's trying to build herself up and just got manipulated by Thony. Then you have Arman, who's dealing with Thony starting to mouth off more and more and act like she's in the power position. How in the world does that keep Thony alive? And you want to include Thony mouthing off to Garrett, who right now needs a win and doesn't necessarily have to keep Thony around once he gets the information he wants. All I'm trying to say is, as much as we appreciate Thony standing up to herself when it comes to people in higher positions, it really does seem there's going to come a point where she's going to say the wrong thing to the wrong person, and hopefully all that happens is maybe she gets checked. But in a real life situation, I think it would probably go much farther than that. So, when it comes to highlights, I definitely want to follow up on just having a better understanding of how Arman and Nadia's relationship works. First off, you have to note that when it comes to Arman and Nadia, it's definitely more so a business relationship than them being lovers, because considering Nadia's orgy parties and then us seeing Isabel and Arman make out at her wedding, clearly there's no love there. Maybe at one time there was, but as of now, it's to the wayside. And with that in mind, it definitely makes you think about what is the reason why these two are together. Is it that Nadia was possibly the maid's daughter, or maybe another groundskeeper's daughter, and that's kind of where her and Arman bonded because they wanted better, and it's much easier to do that when you have a partner, especially when you have a wife? Or could it be something else? Either way, there's a little bit of a mystery when it comes to the relationship, and while before it kind of was a mystery that pushed you to wonder maybe if Arman was gay or some other type of situation, now it brings a good type of complication in where, I mean, just to throw it out there, there's always a chance that maybe considering Arman immigrated into the US, maybe he got a green card through his wife and that's why they're together. Again, there's a mystery that's building here that I appreciate, since it's not like a big time mystery. It's just one of those things where you just want to know, how does this dynamic work and why is it still going on strong? Following that, and hopefully this doesn't make it seem like I'm repeating myself, I really am interested in to see how Tony's gonna really handle taking on these men with power and still going toe to toe to them with no type of apprehension. She goes up to Garrett and shames him for trying to use her immigration status and son in order to get her to be an informant. And then when it comes to Arman, she decides, despite knowing what Arman is capable of and possibly hoping that he wouldn't do that to a woman, never mind take it out on a child, she decides to shame him by using his parents, which from the start he makes it clear is a very touchy subject, since they kind of disowned him and he was definitely a mother's boy at one time. Yet she has the audacity when she's upset with him to bring them up. And I don't know, when it comes to violence, what they may or may not do to Tony, but I do definitely feel that she is testing the grounds, and with her being lead, there's that question of how much will they allow her to get hurt. And even though she's not going to die because this show is built around her, there is definitely the need to question, if she doesn't end up getting hurt, what does this mean for Fiona? What does this mean for Chris? What does this mean for Jazz, Luca, so that somebody can, whether it's Garrett using his powers or else Arman using his, figure out a way to kind of take control of her without having to beat her to a pulp in the process. Or perhaps better said, how to take control of her without having to physically harm her in order to keep getting her services without there being any type of need to ask additional questions. The first on-defense topic is Garrett, and I just want to begin with that because I just don't like how they threw in that 5-year-old kid in order to soften him up. It feels kind of cheap in a way, and mainly because you see who Garrett is. He cheated on his wife with an informant. He doesn't care about Tony's immigration status or her kid's situation. He just wants to win. And throwing in his 5-year-old is supposed to soften us up to him. I'm sorry, what? And I keep thinking when I watch this show, when I look at Garrett, I kind of think of Hightown and what they do with Ray. And Ray is kind of similar because Ray took advantage of one of his informants. He was a cop that didn't go by the rules, but I don't think Garrett's actor has the kind of charm which makes you feel like mixed emotions about him. If anything, the way the actor plays him definitely like taps into that white privilege. And then when you hear what ASAC Russo talked about, where he should have gotten fired after his incident before, it's just like, a part of me wants to see Arman take the man out, but at the same time I know if he does that, it's over for him. And unless he decides to escape from the country, go somewhere down south, and when I say down south, I mean like Mexico, Cuba, South America, it's pretty much one of those things where we're stuck with Garrett probably for most of the show, and it's just so hard to accept that. The second thing that we're on the fence about is just Fiona and Chris's storyline, and it's mainly because it kind of fits into that Trojan horse idea where, yes, the big show is about Tony getting involved with these gangsters and cleaning up after them, and also sometimes reviving the people they try to kill, if not them who try to kill other people. But then you have this storyline about the immigration experience, which, similar to where I got the phrase Trojan horsing from, Orange is the New Black, it feels like The Thony storyline is the marketable one, yet what really wanted to be told is the story of Chris and Fiona, maybe Jazz if she actually gets involved at all, but they knew that that wasn't going to sell. That was not something they can package to a network like Fox, ABC, or whatever, and they would actually get on air. So instead, we got Thony's storyline. But the problem that I'm having is, as much as I appreciate Chris and Fiona's storyline and what it illuminates, at the same time, it's so separate that it doesn't even feel like it's trying to mask that this is what they perhaps really wanted to tell us, the storyline that they're really invested into. And with that, it kind of makes me wonder, as time goes on, are they going to break off? And not break off like a spinoff, but really break off like it's going to be one whole hour, but it's going to be two main storylines, with Thony's situation taking up maybe like most of the time, and then we making sure that Chris and Fiona and them get their spare time as in there, which isn't terrible. But if that's going to be the plan, I also feel like they need to step it up with Fiona and Chris, mainly since I just think that the storyline in terms of the theme and what it's trying to talk about is good, but in terms of the performances and the writing for it, it doesn't match up. So right now I'm kind of in that mindset where either it has to go one or two ways. Either A, Fiona needs to start tapping into Thony's storyline, and even if it's just like, hey, I need money, I know what you're doing, help me. Or else they're going to have to really make Chris and Fiona's storyline so good that I doubt it'll ever get on par with Thony's going through, but at the very least it needs to feel like it's competing there, that it's really earning its place beyond just having the voice of what many may feel is their immigration experience, or maybe the experience of their family, if not just speaking for those who, in terms of, educating people on what's going on outside of their bubble, kind of giving an idea of what other people in America are going through, even though you may not see it.